inadequate and has called for officers to work with elders in those towns. Derek Williams gave evidence at the inquest into Kumanjaya Walker's death, along with community members who were there the night he was fatally shot. And a warning, this story contains the image of an Indigenous person who has died.
Returning to the coroner's court for a second day in the witness box, Aboriginal Community Police Officer Derek Williams told the inquest in his years on the force he's faced issues with racism when police from out of town come to remote communities. Town-based policing is hands-on all the time, and there have been officers who have come in from major centres and they take that hands-on stuff to remote communities.
This is ABC News. We're interrupting our programs to inform you Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died. She passed away at Balmoral Castle this afternoon UK time. During the past 7 hours, Britain and the world has been waiting for news after hearing of doctors' grave concerns for Her Majesty's health. Queen Elizabeth was the longest-serving monarch in British history. The impact of her death will reverberate across the Commonwealth and the world.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
What I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart.
I want to tell you all how happy I am to be amongst you and how much I look forward to my journey through Australia.
It's a question of maturing into something that one's got used to doing and accepting the fact that here you are and it's your fate.
If you've just joined us on ABC News, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died. The royal family has said in a statement she passed away peacefully at Balmoral Castle this afternoon, UK time. The King and the Queen Consort will now remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. She reigned over a period in which life, society and attitudes have changed beyond recognition. The United Kingdom, Australia and the rest of the Commonwealth will enter a period of mourning and will watch the proclamation of a new sovereign, the first in 70 years. In the coming hours and days, the ABC will be reflecting on the legacy of the longest-serving monarch in British history. We expect to hear from world leaders, the Governor-General and the Australian Prime Minister in the coming hours. Over the past 7 hours we've been waiting for news and now it has come. We'll go live to Buckingham Palace and the ABC's Steve Kinane. Steve, what is the feeling like there today?
Very sombre here today when news spread that the Queen was not in a good condition, and it was an unprecedented statement that came from the palace earlier today that her health condition was responded. Normally those kind of statements are not released by the palace, so from that moment on we knew things were very serious. And then when we saw that the four children of the Queen leading up to the home royal family, we knew
Okay, we'll have to leave Steve Kinane there, I'm afraid. We are expecting statements from the Governor-General and the Prime Minister in the coming hours on the ABC, and we'll bring those to you live as they happen. So repeating the news, the Queen, Elizabeth II, has died at Balmoral Castle this afternoon, UK time. For now, we'll join live coverage from our broadcast partner, the BBC.
The word will people will be very shocked, I think, by this. I think it is very hard to take it in. But there is, as you say, the news. The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon, so presumably she must have died before the members of her family arrived at Balmoral, but they will have known, as they drove in through the gates, they will have known that the Queen, their mother or their grandmother, had died. It doesn't make any reference as to whether the King was at her bedside, but we do know that Charles and Camilla had travelled across to Balmoral Castle, so one presumes that they will have been there at the end. And the Princess Royal as well, one must assume, though they have not said that. And of course there will be many arrangements, but before the arrangements there will be all the tributes. And those will be on a scale that we have really not seen before.
No. They've started, Nick, already, as you can imagine. President Biden, the White House, he and his wife saying our hearts and thoughts go to the Queen's family and the British people, of course, coming from our strongest ally, so you'd expect the statement to be warm and sincere, as it is, but as leaders, religious leaders, and of course, I think it's right to say this, from millions of people, from ordinary people who will want to be sharing their sense of loss.
Yes, yes, and that sense of loss will be deep and it will be widespread. As we've both been saying, people will feel a personal loss, that a person who they in some way knew or felt they knew has gone, who was always there, who was this reassuring presence, this embodiment of stability and continuity, and who personified the unity of the United Kingdom. It is, as I think you used the word, it is a seismic event in terms of the United Kingdom, and of course it, I think, will rather add to that sense of flux that we have at the moment.
Yes.
Of political change with a new Prime Minister, of economic crisis with all the energy costs, gosh, who's giving a thought to that huge statement that the new Prime Minister made in the House of Commons today about that. There is war in Europe. Well, the monarchy, in one of those hard to put your finger on ways, is a stabilising and unifying force, and that will be the challenge now for Charles as king, and he, I'm sure, will want to act quickly. He will lead the mourning for his mother, for the Queen, but he will, I'm sure, also want to just indicate that he understands what is required as a constitutional monarch. He has already indicated that he does completely understand that it is a different role, that he will have to give up his interventions, but I think that he will reign in a slightly different way. I mean, the fundamentals are the same, but each monarch brings something of their own personality to the role, and I think that Charles will try to continue his interest in some of those issues without in any way allowing politics or a political scope to come into it.
I'm told, Nick, that we are expecting a statement from the new king fairly shortly. So when we have that, we'll bring it right away. And as we look at these rather nice images of Her Majesty, of course, engaged in one of the endless official engagements that she's done over the years, it's worth bringing in as well some remarks from the Dutch royal family, because the British royal family and the Dutch royal family have enjoyed close relations over the years. The Dutch royal family saying, "We remember Queen Elizabeth II with deep respect and with great affection. Steadfast and wise, she dedicated her long life to serving the British people. We feel a strong bond. This is the King of the Netherlands. We feel a strong bond with the United Kingdom and its royal family, and we share their sorrow at this time. And we're very grateful for our country's close friendship, to which Queen Elizabeth made such an unforgettable contribution. King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima and Princess Beatrix of the Netherlands offering their tributes. Just worth underlining the scale and the importance and the impact of what we are reporting today. It is a huge milestone in the history of the United Kingdom. The fact that the Queen, who was crowned back in 1953, has died peacefully at Balmoral in Scotland this afternoon. The King, that is King Charles, and the Queen Consort will be staying at Balmoral this evening, and then we will be expecting them to return to London tomorrow. And that's a statement also expected from the new King sometime in the next maybe 20 minutes or so. But these images remind us of those happy days which really do just set the foundations really for a hugely successful and productive reign. Coronation Day back in 1953, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, just on the right-hand side there, the Duke of Edinburgh just behind her. But the Queen, the young Queen, became Queen at the age of 25, acknowledging the huge crowd that had gathered on Coronation Day back in 1953, where we're looking at the woman who would become the longest reigning monarch in the history of the United Kingdom. And here we are in 2022 reporting on the Queen's death at the age of 96. Buckingham Palace formally making that announcement a short while ago, saying that the Queen, whose health was the matter of a bulletin earlier today, with doctors expressing their concern, Queen died peacefully at Balmoral during the course of this evening. We don't have a precise time, but we do know that several members of the royal family were at Balmoral, and they were no doubt in a meeting with the doctors and the experts when they got there. And indeed the news came fairly soon after their arrival that Her Majesty had indeed passed away at the age of 96. Earlier today, they were saying that she was being kept comfortable in Balmoral. There was no sign of any move to hospital, no sign of any further intervention by doctors in a different kind of facility. All the care was being done at Balmoral itself. And indeed, a few hours later came the very sad news, which will affect many millions of people, that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died at the age of 90.
And if you only just joined us, good morning, and it's a solemn morning too. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died. Her Majesty died at Balmoral Castle in Scotland with her 4 children and Prince William by her side. In a statement, Buckingham Palace says the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will stay at Balmoral this evening and return to London tomorrow.
She reigned over a period in which life, society and attitudes have changed beyond recognition. The United Kingdom, Australia and the rest of the Commonwealth will enter a period of mourning, and we will watch the proclamation of a new sovereign, the first in more than 70 years. Over the coming hours and days, the ABC will be reflecting on the legacy of the longest-serving monarch in British history. We expect to hear from world leaders, the Governor-General and the Australian Prime Minister shortly.
We can bring in some live pictures now from London. There we see the Palace of Westminster, the flag already at half-mast. Lisa, a truly momentous day, obviously, for the people of the United Kingdom, but all of the Commonwealth nations, including Australia. We knew this day was coming, but still the Queen's death packs a punch for so many people.
Absolutely, an extraordinary woman, an extraordinary leader whose sense of duty during her reign never faltered, Michael. The hours leading up to her death were filled with tension. We saw family rushing to Balmoral, where she had been her summer holiday home, and we saw the children, Charles, Anne, Andrew and Edward, all heading there to Balmoral. The last time we saw her, Michael, just a couple of days ago with the new Prime Minister.
Yes, 2 days ago, officially appointing Liz Truss as Prime Minister, the 15th Prime Minister to serve under the Queen's reign. We only saw still photos, and it was clear the Queen was 96 years old. She looked very frail. She was relying on a walking stick. We have known for some time, Lisa, that the Queen has had what the palace has simply described as mobility issues. There was a lot of speculation that there might be a deeper health issue. We're seeing these pictures now. Liz Truss being appointed by the Queen just moments or hours earlier. She saw Boris Johnson, the outgoing Prime Minister, for the last time. She had been at Balmoral Castle for a long time and giving up some big engagements that she would normally preside over.
Yes, those Scottish Highland Games, a favourite of hers. We've got the pictures of the family arriving. You mentioned, Michael, that there was no indication whether there was underlying health concerns. Of course, we would not be privy to that. Her medical conditions are her own business, privacy, but there was the jets arriving and then the vehicles, and you could see the grim faces of awful children. Prince William as well was on his way. Kate remained in Windsor, the Duchess of Cambridge. But you know, you think back to just in June when the Platinum Jubilee celebrations took place and we were marking her 70 years on the throne. She thrilled the crowds when she was able to appear on the balcony of Buckingham Palace and also at Windsor Palace during those celebrations. But then the very next day, she pulled out of the St Paul's Cathedral service after saying that there'd been discomfort the day before, and you just got a sense that decisions were being made about her ability on a day-to-day basis.
We have pictures coming in now, as you can see, one of the most recognisable buildings in the world. Yes, that is Buckingham Palace, and people are starting to arrive there. We had one of the palace courtiers officially attach the notice of the Queen's death on the palace gates there a short time ago. There are the gates to Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Prince Charles, now King Charles, will stay there, we are told, overnight British time and come back to London in the next day or so, starting what is an official 10-day mourning period culminating in the Queen's funeral. We are expecting to hear from a number of world leaders, as Lisa mentioned, including our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. But I think it's time to take a moment to pause and reflect on the enormous contribution this woman has made to world history over the 70 years she was on the throne. She has been this symbol of stability, this symbol of calm, this symbol of continuity. 15 British Prime Ministers, 14 US Presidents, 16 Australian Prime Ministers, the freshly minted Prime Minister Liz Truss